The 90s were a magical time that saw the release some of the best British rock albums ever.
And after all, you're my wonderwall.
Okay, maybe not that one. But what are the best Brit rock albums of the 90s? Let's find out. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the Rock Squad channel. So anybody who knows me knows that I'm a massive fan of British rock. My favorite band of all time is Oasis, and they were my gateway drug into some amazing British rock music from the 90s and 2000s. Yeah, Oasis were definitely my gateway drug into British music. They set me out on a path in the 90s of discovering a lot of great British rock bands from that era. You know, you had Oasis, of course, Manic Street Preachers, Feeder, Stereophonics, the Seahorses, Manson, and the list goes on. And all these bands and these albums have had a great influence on me as a music fan, as a musician myself. These are all albums that I still pull out and listen to and rock out to this day. Before we get to the list, I have two quick honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is Travis and the Man Who from 1999, right at the end of the decade. I love Travis. I actually saw them open up for Oasis. The first time I saw Oasis live at the Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto for the Standing on the Shoulder of Giants tour. Travis opened up with Writing to Reach You. It sounds like a lot like Wonderwall. What is a Wonderwall anyway? The rest of the album is great. Love Travis. They just didn't crack the top 10 for me. And a quick honorable mention for Supergrass and their self-titled record from 1999. Love that record. Picked that up when I was in high school. I love Pumping on Your Stereo and Moving, two of my favorite 90s Brit rock tracks, but they didn't make the list, but they're still awesome. So here are my top 10 best British rock albums ever for the 90s. In at number 10, we have Six, the second album from Manson. No, not that Manson. I'm talking about Manson, Manson, the quirky rock quartet that saw some moderate success during the 1990s with their debut album, Attack of the Grey Lantern, and this album, their second album, Six, released in 1998. Manson is not one of the more well-known, high-profile British rock bands in the 1990s. Like I said, they had some moderate success when they put this album out back, I think, in 1998. But I always found them to be really interesting, really strong songwriters, really strong sense of melody, really catchy songs, even though they have kind of a little bit of that sick, twisted, gothic kind of vibe. And the album Six is not a big anthemic rock record like a lot of the other albums on this list. It's weird, it's kind of perverse in spots, but it has some great tracks on it, like Legacy, Anti-Everything, Negative, and the title track. And then Manson broke up after the release of the follow-up to this record, which was called Little Kicks. They broke up, and so we have a very little small sample size of Manson and their music. But overall, I thought they did some really interesting stuff in the 1990s. And when I think back to discovering a lot of the British bands at that time, they definitely stick out to me, so I had to put them on this list. And at number 9, we have Feeder's debut album, Polythene. I discovered Feeder thanks to their huge hit High, which I discovered and listened to a ton in high school.
I'm going out for a while so I can get high with my friends. I will.
It was also on the soundtrack to the 90s teen comedy Can't Hardly Wait, and when I first heard it, I was absolutely blown away. And the rest of the album is great too. You have Polythene Girl, Cement, Radiation, love the riff on that, Tangerine. It's got some great tracks on it, even though there is some filler on there too. It's not the best album in the world, but I really enjoy it, and it brings back a lot of really good memories.
I'm going out for a while. Don't wait up, 'cause I won't be home today.
And the thing is Feeder's still going. I haven't listened to a lot of the stuff they put out over the last decade and maybe lost track of them somewhere around the late 2000s, but they're still going strong. They got a new album coming out in 2024, and High is still one of the best British rock anthems of the 1990s, and it kind of crossed over into the American market as well, so I had to put it on this list. And at number 9, we have Feeder and Polythene. And at number 8, we have Manic Street Preachers and Everything Must Go. If you've watched this channel before, everybody knows that I'm a massive Manic Street Preachers fan. I did a rock albums ranked from here on the channel. I'll link that up for you here. But I love them. Every album through and through throughout their career. I love the Manic Street Preachers, and I love especially their 90s output, which is how they basically established their career. And the Manics released a lot of classic albums in the 1990s, right from their debut, Generation Terrorist, Gold Against the Soul, The Holy Bible, This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours. But Everything Must Go is the Manics introduction as a big anthemic rock band after the disappearance of Richie Edwards in 1994 or 1995. 1995, I believe, the band had to kind of regroup and you know, they made one of the most epic anthemic rock albums of their career and of the 90s. Blackpool Pura, Designed for Life, Kevin Carter, the title track, The Girl Who Wanted to Be God, Australia, No Surface All Feeling. It's all anthemic British rock at its best.
Wish I had a bottle right here in my dirty face to wear the scars, to show from where I came.
And Everything Must Go set the template for the Manic's career post Richie Edwards. He was such a big influence and big part of the band for the first 3 records, lyrically, aesthetically, just in the overall vibe of the band. They had to reinvent themselves, and they did that with Everything Must Go. And they've kind of gone back and forth over the years between those big anthemic rock records and then more experimental. But this is the album that set them on the path for what we know and love as the Manic Street Preachers today. And it's really still a solid album from front to back. So in at number 8, we have Everything Must Go by the Manic Street Preachers. In at number 7, we have Radiohead and the Bends. Radiohead, a band I love very, very much, but I have a complicated relationship with Radiohead. I love Kid A. I love all the bleep bloop stuff that they did in the 2000s, but the Bends for me is still the pinnacle of Radiohead as a rock band. From the opening lines of Planet Telex and the title track, it's Radiohead at their best, and it continues to be one of the best records in their discography.
Don't leave me high. Don't leave me dry. Don't leave me high. Don't leave me dry.
You have those classic Radiohead acoustic ballads like High and Dry and Fake Plastic Trees, which they become so known for in the 1990s. But there's a lot of rock on here as well. Like I said, Planet Telex, The Bends, My Iron Lung, Just is an amazing song as well. Love that song. Great single, great Radiohead song. They're still a great band. I guess they're not really doing a lot right now. Radiohead's still obviously up there on the Mount Olympus of amazing British rock bands. But to me, they never really reached the heights like they did on The Bends. I know OK Computer obviously came after this. Kid A, those are great albums as well, classics in their own right. But this is really Radiohead just firing on all cylinders. I still love the band. I think In Rainbows is probably one of my favorite Radiohead albums, but since then, everything they've done has been borderline unlistenable. So the Bends is always a good Radiohead well to go back to. In at number 6, we have the Seahorses and their debut and only album, Do It Yourself. When this album came out in 1997, I was absolutely at the height of my Oasis fandom. I was absolutely frothing at the mouth for anything that was kind of like in that Oasis vein. And the Seahorses in 1997 most definitely fit that bill. The band was led by John Squire of the Stone Roses, as well as singer-songwriter Chris Helm, who created a great sound with their combination of John Squire's crazy, awesome Zeppelin-esque riffs and Chris Helm's really melodic, really, really nice voice. It's got some great songs on there as well. Blinded by the Sun, Love is the Law, Suicide Drive, Happiness is Egg-Shaped, and the final track on the record, Hello, is absolutely one of my favorites.
Now we know where we're going, baby. We can lay back and enjoy the ride. Taking the sights and drowning our senses. Love is the law, so take me deep inside.
And there is an Oasis connection on there as well, not just because John Squire was in the Stone Roses, who played with them at Nebworth, and obviously Oasis was influenced by the Stone Roses and that whole thing. Liam Gallagher co-wrote a song on this record with John Squire called Love Me and Leave Me, and it's a really strong track as well. I love this record when it came out, and I still do. It's a really strong record. It really holds up, and it's a shame that the Seahorses imploded not long after the release of Do It Yourself, because they had a lot of potential. But they left us with one amazing classic album, which is more than a lot of bands do in their careers. In at number 5, we have Kula Shaker's second record, Peasants, Pigs, and Astronauts. A lot of bands in the 1990s benefited from the popularity of Oasis. Pretty much every band, or most of them on this list. A couple bands preceded or were contemporaries of Oasis, but Kula Shaker, I definitely think, even though they're a fantastic band, they fall into that category of bands that probably got signed in the wake of the success of Oasis, except Kula Shaker definitely has more of a George Harrison, sitar, Indian kind of sound. And Peasants, Pigs, and Astronauts is a hard-rockin', psychedelic trip of a record that brings all those elements together into one epic package. Mystical Machine Gun, is epic as fuck. Love that song. Blew my mind when I first saw the video back in the day. Love that song. Shower Your Love, SOS, Sound of Drums. It's a big rock record with big ideas. And although Kula Shaker had their moment, they never really got the full recognition that they deserved. But like a lot of bands on this list, not all of them, but most of them, they're still making music, which is awesome. I even love the album cover. Would you look at this? This is epic. This is like blockbuster feature film level artwork. One of my favorite 90s rock album covers of the era. In at number 4, we have the sophomore album from Stereophonics, Performance and Cocktails. Now, most people would probably put their debut album, Word Gets Around, as their Stereophonics choice on this list, and I love that album. That's the album that got me into the Stereophonics. It's a great debut record and one of their best. But I've always loved Performance and Cocktails just a little bit more. Performance and Cocktails has more of that all-around big stadium rock vibe to it, whereas Word Gets Around is like a local band talking about their town. You got songs like Bartender and the Thief, which is an instant classic. Pick a Part That's New is like a pop gem, really super catchy chorus on that. Just Looking, great song. Wouldn't Believe Your Radio. It established Stereophonics as one of the best British rock bands with a keen ear for melody, very much in the vein of Oasis. Like, I think Stereophonics and Oasis really have a lot in common. You have Kelly Jones, who's an awesome vocalist, and this is really just a strong effort from front to back.
You can do all the things that you like to do, all around, underground, pick a part that's new. You can do all the things that you like to do, all around, upside down, pick a part that's new. So what's new to you?
In at number 3, we have The Verve and their classic from 1997, Urban Hymns. Or if you're English, it's Urban Hymns. Aside from the first 3 Oasis albums, which are the holy trinity of 90s British rock, you'd be hard-pressed to find a British rock record from the 90s that is as loved and regarded so well as Urban Hymns. The thing about The Verve is that they were always well placed to be bigger than they were, but they kept periodically breaking up in the 1990s. But they got back together for this one, and thankfully it was a classic. You got songs like Bittersweet Symphony, Lucky Man, The Drugs Don't Work, Sonnet. These were some of the biggest hits of the 90s, and they were crossover hits too. These weren't just big in the UK, but in the US and internationally. These were huge songs.
Now the drugs don't work, they just make you worse, but I know I'll see your face again.
Now, I don't want to start any fights and I don't want to get anybody in trouble here, but you could argue that between Be Here Now and Urban Hymns and the battle of the best British rock record of 1997, that the Urban Hymns could be the stronger album. But you'll never hear me say that here. And it does feature a guest spot from our man Liam Gallagher, who does some backup vocals on Come On People. And then the Verve broke up again and never fully recovered from the glory of this album. And at number 2, we had the debut album from Embrace called The Good Will Out. So you got to understand something. Back in 1998, when this album came out, I was at the peak of my Oasis fandom. Like Be Here Now had come out the previous year. I was obsessed with anything Oasis and obsessed with anything British rock, and this album totally fit the bill. Enter Embrace, another band led by 2 brothers, in this case the McNamara brothers, and their stellar debut album, which featured the hit All You Good Good People, which was kind of similar to the Oasis single Do You Know What I Mean, with its All My People Right Here Right Now, and then All You Good Good People Listen to Me. Every British band was speaking to the people in the 1990s. So after becoming obsessed with that song and seeing that video where the lead singer of the band is executed in the video by electric chair, that was kind of cool. That was a cool video. I had to get the album, and the good thing with The Good Will Out is that it's really solid from front to back.
All you good people, listen to me. You're just about done with the way that you feel. 'Cause nothing rings home enough to dig your heels in. You don't have to leave me to see what I mean. All you good people, listen to me.
One Big Family, Come Back to What You Know, Fireworks, Retread. It's a really tender and powerful record that features some really great vocals and emotional lyrics. And it's kind of sad because although Embrace had some really good albums and singles after the release of The Good Will Out, they never really reached the heights of that record for me. I didn't really enjoy any of the other stuff as much as I enjoyed The Good Will Out, but it's still, for me, one of the best British rock albums of the 1990s. And in at number 1 on my list of the best British rock albums of the 1990s, no surprise here, we have Oasis at the top with their debut record from 1994, definitely maybe. And I bet you're wondering, Nick, this is a list of the best British rock albums of the 1990s. Where's Morning Glory? Where's Be Here Now? They should definitely be on this list. And you're absolutely correct. They should definitely be on this list. I hear you. Oasis is my favorite. I love them. The thing is, that's why I couldn't put those other albums on this list, because if I put Be Here Now and Morning Glory, then you have Oasis taking up 3 spots of my top 10, which is a little bit too much real estate for the Gallagher brothers when I'm trying to spread the love amongst other British bands that I know and enjoy. So I couldn't just put Oasis at the top of the list, all top 3 spots, and leave no room for anyone else. That just wouldn't be fair. So I had to pick one Oasis album, and for me, it's definitely Maybe, which defined 90s British rock and really opened up the floodgates for a lot of the bands on this list to become famous and well-known in their own right.
Maybe I just wanna fly, wanna live but don't wanna die. Maybe I just wanna breathe. Maybe I just don't believe. Maybe you're the same as me. We see things they'll never see. You and I are gonna live forever.
But Oasis were the blueprint for British 90s rock. I know there's some bands that were there before them, like definitely Maybe came out in 1994. You had 3-4 whole years of music coming out before Oasis, but really it was when definitely Maybe came out in 1994, and Oasis brought, just good old rock and roll music back to the mainstream, that things really clicked and things changed in the 1990s for the better. You had Liam and Noel and the boys making huge arena rock anthems that everybody sang along to in the 1990s. And as far as British bands go, they were one of the few in the 1990s that actually break into the US market for a little bit at least and become a household name. Like, I know Oasis may not be the most well-known band in North America, but they have a lot of notoriety here, and they're one of those few 90s British rock bands to break into the mainstream and really make a difference. So that is it, guys. That's my top 10 list of the best British rock albums of the 1990s. I'm going to do another list of the best British rock albums of the 2000s, so keep your eyes peeled for that here on the Rock Squad channel. If you like this video, toss us a like. If you want to subscribe, we'd really appreciate that. Don't miss out on future videos here on the Rock Squad channel. Hit the subscribe button and follow us on social media on Instagram and TikTok at Rock Squad Pod. I'll see you guys again for another video here on the Rock Squad channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.